All right, to find our second solution then, same idea, we just want to plug in the -4 this time. So we have y equals -4 times -4 squared minus 16 times 4. So -4 times 16 minus 16 times 4. This would be -64. Oops, and I forgot a negative here. This actually becomes -16 times -16. -16 times -4 is +64, so this is just 0. So my coordinate then, I plugged in -4 and got 0. So those are my two solutions, -216 and -4, Okay, so that was solving with substitution then. So getting one of my variables by itself and plugging it into the other equation. If you look at the next page here, number 9, 10, and 11 say to solve by elimination. So elimination means I'm going to kind of line all of my common pieces up. So I want x squareds lined up, x's lined up, constants lined up, and y's lined up. All right, and I want to be able to eliminate one of those. So when I look at number 9 here, I see that the second equation has the constant by itself. So I'm going to try to get that first equation to be something similar. So I'm going to take this first one. I have x squared minus 7x plus 11 equals 1 minus 1. So I want to move this y over and also subtract the 11. So I would have x squared minus 7x minus y equals, those y's are gone, -12. So all I've done here is rearrange. And you can actually, if you wanted to get the y by itself on one side, that's fine. They just have to be the same. So my second equation had the constant by itself, so that's what I did in the first. All right, so now the second equation was -x plus y equals -4. So that one I didn't change at all. So notice things are lined up. I don't have an x squared piece in my second one, so there's nothing under the x squared. But everything else has the same type of term above it, either x, y, or constant. So now this one is actually set up to eliminate y right away. So when I combine like terms here, so x squared plus nothing is just x squared. -7x and -8x is -8x. Those go away. And I end up with -16. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this equal to 0. Adding 16 to each side, and I recognize that this is something that's going to factor because 4 times 4 is 16, and 4 plus 4 is 8. So to get the -8 in the middle, I need x minus 4. So I would then have x minus 4 equals 0, and notice they're the same exact thing. So really there's only one solution here, right? I only end up with one x value, so I really only had to do this one time. So these must only intersect in one place, and that's when x is 4. So I need to plug that in to figure out what y is. So I'm going to look at that second equation just because it's a little easier. So -x plus y equals -4. So in for x, I'm going to put 4. So I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to add 4 to each side. So I get y is 0. So my solution then is 4, 0. So they only intersect in one place, so I have a parabola and a line, they intersect in one place, and that is at 4, 0. All right, let's look at 10 next here. So 10 is already set up very nicely to solve by elimination. The x squareds are lined up, the x's, the constants, and the y's. The only thing is, I don't have anything that's going to cancel out, so I need to do that. So let's go ahead and then just rewrite the first equation as it is. For the second equation, I'm going to multiply by a -1. So I would get a -y, so those are going to cancel. So the sign is going to change on everything else as well. So now, when I eliminate, those go away. So I have 0 equals 8x squared plus 14x plus 21. Okay, so this one kind of funky here. I have that 8x squared, and I don't want to divide by 8 because that's going to make it kind of complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up for quadratic formula here. I think completing the square would be kind of too messy. You could still do it, but it's just a little messier than I would like it to be. So x is opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So x is negative 14 plus or minus. All right, when I do this whole thing under the square root, so in my calculator I'm doing 14 squared minus 4 times 8 times 21. I get a negative 476. So the deal is, I can have a solution with I here, but when I'm solving systems of equations, I want to figure out where they intersect. If I end up with a negative under that radical, that means they do not intersect at all. So I have two parabolas here that do not intersect. So I would say no solution. So no real solution really is what's happening here. All right. Let's look at one last one here together, number 11. Okay, so we're still under the elimination directions here. So let's see. I've got x's, x squared, y's, and constants in each equation, so I'm going to need to do some rearranging. Let's go ahead and get the y by itself. So in the first one, I need to add x squared to each side. So that first one is going to become x squared minus 5x plus 29 equals y. The second one, to get y by itself, I'd have to subtract x squared. So I would get 2x squared minus x squared is just 1x squared minus the 1 equals y. Okay, so notice I'm leaving kind of a gap in the middle there. That's because I want to line things up. The second equation doesn't have an x, so I need that empty space. If you wanted, you could put plus 0x, because really that's what it's saying, is that there are no single x terms. Okay, so I'm almost set up to solve by elimination here. I need to figure out what I want to eliminate, either my x or my y. So I'm going to multiply the first equation by a negative 1 here, and just bring that down. So negative x squared plus 5x minus 29 equals negative y. So then really, those two are the ones I'm eliminating. So x squared and negative x squared cancel. 0 and 5x is 5x. Negative 1 and negative 29 is 30. And my y's actually cancel here as well. So this works out really nicely because I can just solve for x here. So I have 5x equals 30. So x must equal 6. So that must mean these two parabolas only intersect once, and that's when x is 6. So I just need to figure out the y that goes with it. So I'm going to plug into, I'll go with the first equation here. So I have negative 5 times 6 plus 29 equals y minus 6 squared. So negative 5 times 6 is negative 30 plus 29 equals y minus 36. So that gives me negative 1 on this side. I'm going to add 36 to each side now. So 35 is what y is equal to. So my final answer, my x was 6, my y was 35. So that is where those two functions intersect at. Okay, so now you're ready to do the assignment in Google Classroom. We looked at some that had directions solved by substitution and solved by elimination. It's up to you what you want to do there. So you can kind of ignore the directions. You just solve whichever way you think the system is set up to. So if you have an x or y by itself, substitution might make more sense. Or if you want to rearrange some things to do elimination, it's up to you. I don't care which one you use.